Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. You're also watching on Facebook Live, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. And for the first time ever, low-key making history, didn't say too much about it, we didn't put too much out about it, just a little low-key thing. We're live on YouTube right now as well, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. So two places to listen, MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as the homepage of WakeUpCallDT.com, where the MixLR feed is embedded. And now two places to watch and listen live, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, as well as YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. So for those of you that don't have Facebook, you can now watch on YouTube. Everybody can get on YouTube. You don't have to have any type of subscription or anything to watch on YouTube. So something else added to the family of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I feel very privileged. I feel very honored and very thankful. So that being said, we're inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and the Cafe Kubal is located all throughout Syracuse for you, with locations at 3501 James Street, as well as 324 West Water Street, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital, 401 South Salina Street, and 208 North Townsend Street, and the newest one, Holly Green Cafe. All of those in Syracuse, and all of those open to you throughout the week. So either you go before you listen to the show, while you're listening and watching the show, or right after it. I thank everybody that goes out to Cafe Kubal and shows them some love. The mobile cafe has been doing fantastic, as well as local delivery available for you. You can check all of that out by going to cafekubal.com. And if you want more information directly from Wake Up Call, you can go to wakeupcalldt.com on the Central New York tab and click on Cafe Kubal. With that being said, we have an awesome show in hour number one inside of Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory's What's Poppin'. We have PJ. He's going to be discussing a lot of different things with us on today's show. We'll be talking about the return of college football as well as the return of the NFL, which happens today. For those of you that are watching and listening live, that is happening in just a little while, in just a few hours. We'll be returning to the NFL when Houston plays Kansas City in Kansas City. This is a rematch of the game that we got to see in the playoffs this past season, where Houston, I believe, was up by 21, and the Kansas City Chiefs came all the way back. We know that Pat Mahomes has a great ability to spin things around in the direction of his team. He was able to do that in that game, and then, of course, go on to win a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll talk about the NFL's return as well as college football. We'll talk about Jalen Ramsey's record-setting contract, and we will get into a little bit here on the state of the Jacksonville Jaguars and some thoughts that I have, as well as PJ. So with all of that being said, that's hour number one. In hour number two, I'll be joined for the first time ever on Wake Up Call from Roland Williams. Roland Williams, a former Syracuse tight end, who went on for 8 seasons in the NFL, spending a lot of that time with the Rams as well as the Raiders, and he is also a Super Bowl champion and a father of 3. Roland Williams will be joining us to speak on social justice, as well as his time at Syracuse, his time in the NFL, being a Super Bowl champion, and what he does in his life now, with life after being on the football field, how he is utilizing that to help people, all of the things he's doing public speaking-wise, and so much more. So Roland Williams, Super Bowl champion, will be joining us in just a little bit. So, with that being said, let's hop into hour number one. And PJ, Papa Joe, how are we doing?
Hey, Daniel, good. Everything's fine down here. Still dodging the virus.
Yeah,
Couple 3,000 cases a day and 100 people dead. Same old. But bars are still closed. So I don't know when it's going to end. I don't know when it's going to let up, let alone end. So let's hope that we can stay together and pray. That's what we do every day.
And Papa Joe, obviously you're a big person of faith, and I am as well. What is your, obviously we want to see an end to the virus, but, what prayer do you want to let out today? What do you want to say?
What do I want to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that everyone has to keep an open mind. We've come a long way. We've come from 10,000 cases a day down to 3,000 cases a day, which is still too much. I'd like to see some of the states open up a little more, especially New York. All my racing buddies up there can't go to work yet. Saratoga just closed their monumental meet. There's not really a lot to talk about. Everyone pray. I pray. We all pray in our own way, you know. As I told you earlier, we watch EWTN every day at 8 o'clock, which is 7 o'clock their time because they're in Birmingham. And after every Mass, there's a rosary for the pandemic. And unfortunately, for the people that got killed by that hurricane in Lake Charles. Joe has a real good friend who's an insurance adjuster, and he went over there to do some work. He wasn't there a week, and he called up Joe and he says, "I'm coming back, Joe." He said, "I can't take it. I can't take it. I can't look at what's happening here and do my job. I got to come home." And that's what he did. So, you know, there's all sorts of things to pray for. We certainly pray for the safety of the people, the ones that are left in Lake Charles, Louisiana, in that area. I know one racetrack got almost disheveled. A little place called Evangeline Downs, and Delta Downs is another racetrack that got hurt a little bit. So, you know, you have, when something like this happens, you have to displace a lot of things, including horses. You know, just because the racetrack is not going to be functional, you got to do something with the horses. So they're trying to place the horses at different racetracks throughout the country, but throughout the area. It's a terrible situation, but you know, we all pray and we do what we got to do. So that's where I'm at.
That coming from Papa Joe here this morning. Always coming to us from the beautiful Sunshine State, my second home, a place that I miss absolutely dearly, people that I miss dearly, and I hope that I get down there very soon. Papa Joe, I mean, what can you say about? I mean, you know, obviously you've been in the house a lot. What do you appreciate? I mean, what are maybe something that you took for granted before, maybe something you didn't appreciate before, knowing that your son's there, knowing that your beautiful bride is there, your wife is there. Is there something that maybe you appreciate more now after all these months that maybe you didn't think about as much?
I'm thankful for all the people who love me, which is fabulous. And, you know, Mary has a huge family in Milwaukee. And every one of them has been in touch with me over the last months to see how I'm doing, because I'm susceptible to this type of virus. I'm not going anywhere yet. The only places I go is to a doctor's appointment, and sometimes Mary drives me to that. So I appreciate all their care and concern, and it means a lot to me, because if I catch this thing, my immune system is not the best right now. So she has me barricaded in here pretty well. I don't go do anything. I don't go to the store. Don't go to the bank. Don't go anywhere. But with the meatball here, it keeps us lively. So Mary's jumping through some hoops when the two of us get going.
That coming here from Papa Joe. Staying positive, staying safe during this time. We didn't know if this was going to happen. Be honest, PJ. Did you think that we were going to see the NFL? Did you think we were going to see college football as we've gone through these last few months? What was your thought? Are you surprised that it's football season? Did you think eventually it was going to happen? I mean, you're a Gator fan. You know that the South doesn't give up on. The world could be on fire. There could be a meteor strike, and the SEC wouldn't stop playing. I said that if there was a zombie attack on the field, they would be dodging each other as well as dodging zombies, but they wouldn't stop playing football. So, are you surprised that there's football right now?
Well, yes. I mean, you have to look at the big picture. There's still a lot of problems in the country, and there's still a lot of teams that are not even practicing because. And then there was a game that was canceled. I think it was a Baylor and something game because half the team was come down with the virus. And was it Oklahoma or Oklahoma State? One of those teams came down with the virus. So it's not going to be the kind of product that we want to see, frankly. I don't know if it's going to be even worth watching for the first couple of weeks. I mean, at least the SEC is starting, a couple of weeks down the road. But there are some games this weekend that are being played that I don't know if I'm going to look at. I want to see Syracuse and see how they're going to do against North Carolina. The ACC and the SEC are going to carry forward and blitz the rest of the country. I think Notre Dame is playing this week too. I guess it's going to be fun to watch. I just don't know if it's going to be worth the agony that they're going through. And I was reading an article yesterday about your poor man up there at Navy who played BYU on the opening day, and they lost something like 51-3 or something like that. And he was explaining that he never had any live hitting. He didn't have any hitting. So he said the first time we started hitting was when we played BYU, and he says that's on me. He says I should have rounded the kids in better form than that. I mean, we got beat on both sides of the ball, and we couldn't do anything. So that shows you how important it is to actually play the game in practice, and bop each other's heads and throw the ball around, run the ball around, place kicks, kickoffs, punts.
Yeah.
And your poor man in Navy didn't do any of that, and he got his butt handed to him. So he said he's going to repair that. I guess he's going to start. Poor kids are probably going to start smashing this today, probably. But the rest of the games, I don't know. There's some games that I'd like to follow. I'm not going to watch anything, I don't think. I'm more concerned about the starting of the Jaguars season than anything else. But the ACC is going forward, and Syracuse, as we mentioned, is playing North Carolina, so that should be a decent game. I don't know. Is this Syracuse practicing full bore, or what's up there?
The thing about Syracuse, and we haven't been able to go to anything, obviously. So
that's always the case up there. Why is that a problem up there?
It's funny. And people don't know that, but well before Corona, the media is not. We're allowed in practice for the first 10 minutes to take pictures of them running out. I remember going, wow, that was a really good stretch. That guy did a fantastic jumping jack. I think that guy just skipped a little bit. We don't get to see anything, and it kind of started. It started when Marone was here, and because we could see practice for a while, we could see like an hour of the hour and a half or an hour of the 2 hours, and then a little by little it changed, and eventually it got to a point where we could see them stretch for 10 minutes, and it doesn't make. It honestly doesn't make any sense, and I don't get it, because how are we supposed to report on a team that we can't see? And I used to do a thing called the draft notebook, and in the draft notebook, I used to do a thing called my camp notebook, and I would take a notebook to camp, and I would just take pages and pages of information. I would just take everything down, and everything I saw. Who's standing out in practice, who's doing this, who's doing that, and it allowed me the opportunity to really educate myself, and then through my notes, kind of lend some information to other people. So I would talk about a player that nobody knew. I would talk about a player who wasn't a starter, and I would say, this guy deserves a start, and somebody would say I'm an idiot and I'm crazy, and what am I watching, and why do I think this? And then that guy would end up being a starter, and he would end up being a first-round draft pick, or not a first-round draft pick, but they haven't had one of those in a while, but he'd end up getting drafted and whatnot. And so, I think camp was so vital for us as media, because we got to see so many things, and I got to learn so many things. And I'm just a student of the game. I just like watching X's and O's. I would sit there with the coaching staff at 1 o'clock in the morning and watch film if they'd let me. So, I'd put my notebook away. I don't need to record anything. I just want to see it. So for, I think it was a problem beforehand, closing everything off and not letting us see it. And, now obviously with Corona, it's still like that. And I commend, these schools, including Syracuse, for doing Zoom calls and giving us an opportunity somehow, some way to connect with the team. But I really do hope that when everything, is lifted, hopefully, and things get better, that Syracuse will open up practice. And, maybe this time has made them think maybe, I don't know. I hope that they appreciate, what we do, and, and being there. And the thing is if you're worried about people following the rules, you do what Jets camp did. You don't follow the rules, you get kicked out. We tell you put the camera down, you don't put the camera down, you get kicked out. Don't kick us all out don't punish everyone for the sins of a few. And, and so I really, really would love that. And maybe that'll be a change that'll be made to, as this world gets better, hopefully that'll be something, that'll get better on our end. But it's really, really tough to talk about a team growing and changing and excelling when you have no idea what they're doing because you're not allowed to see them. So I would hope that changes, but the news that did come out is that the top 2 running backs for Syracuse on the depth chart, Abdul Adams and Jarvion Howard, have decided to opt out. So they will not be playing this season. And Tyrell Richards, a linebacker for Syracuse, and our linebacker core changes up here in Syracuse every season for the last few seasons because of eligibility ending. Tyrell Richards isn't playing. And then backup defensive lineman Cooper Dawson isn't playing. So Syracuse had 4 players that opted out. There may be more that we don't know about, but as of right now, I think the biggest kind of hit to Syracuse, and Tyrell Richards, he's kind of a question mark as to what he would be in the defense this year, but the biggest hit to Syracuse right now is Abdul Adams and Jarvion Howard, 2 running backs in the stable that will not be playing this season. So that's a big hit, PJ, but at the same time, Syracuse doesn't run the ball anywhere near what they used to, and they don't rely on the run, and they don't lean on it at all, really. So, that could be another issue in and of itself, but not having your top 2 running backs is obviously a potential threat to the rest of the season.
Sure. Yep, I think it's time for maybe Dino to take a look around. I think maybe it's time for him to move on. Maybe he's not as fired up as he used to be. He's certainly a capable coach, and I'm sure that any school that's having coach problems would love to have him, but it's too bad. Meanwhile, in your state, Saratoga just closed their summer meet, 40 days, 6 weeks. And I'm going to throw a number at you. This is mind-boggling. I understand it, but maybe your listeners don't. The amount of money wagered on Saratoga this summer meet was $700 million.
Wow.
Think about that. Think about that. $700 million for all the outlets throughout the country and the world that bet on the Saratoga races for 6 weeks. Now, and that being said, me as an old track guy and who used to operate tracks, why do I need to open up my gates to the people to come in if there's a problem when we got these kind of numbers that are flying all over the place? I mean, they wouldn't handle 700 million people or $700 million if they had people at the track before. So, go figure. I'm not sure that some of the racetracks may not reopen. And I'm really worried about the harness tracks up there in New York. They still haven't got going. I read a little blurb yesterday about the casino in Monticello, my old place. They're going to open up yesterday. They're supposed to open up the Resorts Casino up there. I forgot what it's called, but Lake Taimisha up there in Victor. So, the tracks aren't racing for any money anyway. They're not racing for any people because the people don't come to the races anymore. Everyone's betting offline, which is fine.
Yeah.
If they're betting offline like that, or online, not offline, whatever. If they're betting simulcasting the way it is now,
yeah.
Then why would the owners of the tracks open the race up to the public if they're doing fine without it? I mean, I know when we owned our racetracks, we counted on the food and beverage income and the admissions income and programs income. Well, obviously it's not needed anymore if these people throughout the country and the world are betting on the races simulcast twice. So it's something to think about. $700 million is a mind-boggling number. They'll take a couple weeks off. They open up. NYRA opens back up in Belmont for their fall meet, which is about a week or about a month. Great racing again. Right now, most of the big guys and some of the big trainers are at a little small place in Kentucky called Kentucky Downs. They have a 7-day summer meet where they'll handle several $1 million too, just in the 7 days. But it's sort of a break at the respite between some of the guys that go back out to California and some of the ones that come back east. So there's a lot happening in the racing world and gambling world, but football is where it's at right now. I guess we got to try to pull the Jaguars in. There's some decent talk down here in the Florida Times Union, the Jacksonville paper. The team is pissed off, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And the kids are pissed off because of this idiot, this pundit, that wrote this incredibly offensive article about Jaguar being the worst franchise in professional sports.
Yeah.
How could he say that? I mean, I don't know where he got his information from. But, of course the Jaguars, they're young. There's 16 rookies on the team. There's one guy that's over 30 years old. Everyone else is under 30. That's the youngest team in the league. Are they going to get their lumps? Yes, probably. Are they going to be entertaining to watch? Yes, because of Minshew and his boys. So, I'm following him pretty closely, and I like what I'm reading and like what I'm hearing. It's just that they're going to have a little edge. They always should have an edge anyway, but they should have more of an edge now because of this pundit that wrote that extremely offensive article.
Yeah, and you and I kind of addressed this article last week here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Speaking here with Papa Joe this morning in his post every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We've had this conversation about what's been going on and what's happened and all of that. And the thing, saying that the Jacksonville Jaguars are the worst, franchise in America, of any sport, all sports together, NHL, MLS, MLB, NBA, NFL, and on and on and on and on. To say that is insane. And obviously, like I said, maybe this guy tried out for Jacksonville, didn't make the team. Maybe he's got a girlfriend that lives in Jacksonville that broke up with him. Maybe he sprained his ankle when he was walking through Jacksonville. I don't know. But I mean, it's one of those things where those are some harsh words to say, and it's something, and how do you even compare it? How do you compare them to everybody? I guess, he tries to break it down, this and that. It seemed like there was, when I'm reading through the article, it seemed like there was a lot of opinion. There was a lot of kind of just, this is how I feel. And, obviously they might look to some of the draft picks not being there anymore and drafting Blaine Gabbert and whatnot. But, outside of that, outside of maybe talking about the draft and whatnot, I'm like, okay, this team has a lot of money. They created Daly's Place. They're doing a lot of stuff there, right on the water. I think Jacksonville has done well in certain areas, but they drafted players. I think the one key thing that you can really hit Jacksonville for is what I said last week. They drafted players that are extremely talented, that have horrible that seemingly have not the best character. And so you have to vet that process. And I always, I say it when you're dating. How much crazy are you willing to deal with for the attractiveness of picking that person? And it's kind of like a draft pick. How much crazy are you willing to deal with for all that good that you see on film? And Jalen Ramsey brought it. Telvin Smith brought it. Marcel Darius brought it. Yannick Ngakoue brought it. I warned you all about it. I said it for years, and now they're all gone. So, the reality of it all is I thought they were a problem. I stated they were a problem. I said Ramsey was the biggest problem. And I remember standing in the locker room seeing, that team vie for an opportunity at the Super Bowl a few seasons ago. And I remember going, okay, things are good now. And the team's okay now, and they're in the playoffs now. I wonder what Jalen Ramsey will say about Blake Bortles if they struggle. That was always something in the back of my head. And then, of course, they did struggle. And, of course, things happen. And, and then the team started to dismember. Now, getting rid of Calais Campbell, I thought was we're trying to shed money. Listen, let's be real, okay? If shedding money is the thing. You got a nothing pick for him. I'm not a nothing pick, but you didn't get a first rounder, you didn't get a second rounder, you didn't get a third rounder. I would have fought for a second, at least gotten a third, gotten a couple. You get fifth and sixth and fourth round picks for these guys. You're losing your starters. You're losing Calais Campbell, who's an All-Pro. You're losing AJ Boye, who to me is an All-Pro. So when that happens and you're getting garbage back, you're getting a raw deal by getting rid of these guys. We're just trying to shed some money. Listen, getting a pick for Nick Foles, I didn't think they were going to get anything for him. They were just trying to shed money. I get that. You get a whatever rounder, and I get that. Okay, that to me made sense because I didn't expect them to get anything. So that is that pick itself. I expected them to just beg somebody to take a little bit of that money off their hands. And the Chicago Bears, who I said at least a week before they did it, that they should take him and Jacksonville should strike while the iron's hot because they can probably get Chicago to take him, and they did. I understand them not getting much for him, but Calais Campbell's ridiculous. A.J. Boye's ridiculous to not get something good for these guys. And building through the draft is important, but it's also that if you're going to build through the draft, you need to learn from your past mistakes or you're doomed to make them again. Jacksonville has drafted a lot of talent, but that talent has been head cases, and you have to be able to navigate through and sift through making sure you get talented players that aren't going to be problems in your locker room and whatnot. And then on top of all of that, you have to look at the fact that the coach in Jacksonville is not a coach that I believe is going to work on the attitudes of these players. I picture Doug Marrone, and I've said it before, I picture him as the dad that comes home from his 9-to-5 job, he kicks off his shoes, he puts on his slippers, his wife has dinner ready by 5:30, not 5:31, he sits there, he eats, he goes to the recliner, he lays back in it, and he falls asleep holding the channel changer, and if you try to change the channel, he wakes up, he grunts, and he says, I was watching that. That's the type of father I think Doug Marrone is. I don't think he's helping you with your homework. I don't think he's sitting there talking to you about girls. I don't think he's really asking you how your day was at school. That's not Doug Marrone. So, I don't think he translates to guys like Jalen Ramsey who need constant attention, who need somebody to tell them that they're pretty and that they love him and that he's great. He didn't have that. So, yeah, it comes down to vetting it in the draft, but it also comes down to having a coach that if you're going to draft that talent, you have to have a coach that's willing to coddle these guys, that's willing to stroke their ego, and Doug Marrone's not going to do that.
No. There's another idiot that made the news, too. I don't know if you read this, but your main man, Leonard Fournette, he goes on record and says, I'm finally with a team that has a quarterback.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Those are his exact words. I'm finally on a team that has a quarterback. Now, why would you say something like that? The team carried him for 4 years. He didn't do jack squat to earn any of it. I get frustrated when I talk about these kids because I don't like their attitudes and I don't like the way they represent themselves. And for him to do something like that, why slap? Sure, he's got a suit against the Jaguars because he thinks they own $4 million or whatever. He goes ahead and says, "I'm finally with a team that has a quarterback."
Yeah.
Go figure. Go figure. He's another idiot that went.
Well, and the thing is, there's a lot of guys that are leaving Jacksonville that are leaving with bad blood. And that bad blood, whether it's on them or whether it's on Jacksonville, the franchise itself, it's still around Jacksonville. And Jacksonville has to really work on fixing this because the reputation that they have with the players is, if people start thinking, okay, if I go there, I'm not going to get paid. If I go there, they're not going to listen to me. If I go there, I'm not going to matter. Listen, if you show up with a Brinks truck and a hype man, you're an idiot. You're a jerk. That's what Jalen Ramsey did, right? And Jalen Ramsey, he got his Brink truck. He made his money, and Papa Joe and I are going to talk about that and so much more when we spin back around, including the fact that college football was able to get off their first week of play. It was a few games. Now they're looking to expand that. And we will discuss that and so much more, as well as the NFL coming up tonight, right after this fast break where sports meets life. If you're watching and listening, I thank you so much. I do want to let you know that we are now adding another venue. We always had it. We always had youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT for the last many years, but we've never done a live broadcast on it. So, as you're watching and listening on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, you can also be watching and listening for the first time ever to live content on youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT while you listen on mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com. Basically, I just keep adding venues so that I can take a longer time to say it all. That's what it means. Papa Joe and I are going to take a step aside for a fast break. We will be back right after this where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So stay tuned right here to us. We appreciate you so very much, and we will talk to you momentarily right after this fast break after you hear from some of our great partners that are here in Central New York. And make sure you support CNY every chance you get.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvelange, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, on mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT, the two venues where you're listening. You are watching on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and you are also watching on, for the first time ever, you're watching live content from Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on YouTube, on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. We're in hour number 1 on a Thursday, so you know that we're here with Papa Joe inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal with multiple locations here in Syracuse, New York. Find them at 208 North Townsend Street in the Holly Green Cafe here in Syracuse, as well as on 401 South Salina Street, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and inside of the Golisano Children's Hospital. If you're staying at home, maybe you don't feel good, maybe you're working from home, you got a busy schedule, you're taking care of the kids, whatever it may be, Cafe Kubal can come to you with local delivery. You can shop Cafe Kubal at cafecubal.com. You can also go to the Central New York tab on wakeupcalldt.com, click on Cafe Kubal, and get all the local delivery information. If you're in Onondaga County, they do not charge you a delivery fee, and you can have the mobile cafe come to your neighborhood or go to your place of business. And that has been rocking and rolling throughout the community. You can track where they're going to be next by following their Facebook page, Cafe Kubal on Facebook. You can follow them there and see where they're going to be next. And if they're going to be in a neighborhood near you and you want to stop by and grab something from the mobile cafe, you can do that as well. So Cafe Kubal doing everything they can to be everywhere they can, coming to you, delivering to you, and obviously having their multiple locations here in Central New York during this difficult time, making sure that you have some of those things that you're used to that make you feel like, times didn't change that much, like having your morning cup of Joe and so much more. So, morning cup of Joe that we have is Papa Joe, and he's hanging out here with us this morning, as he always does on a Thursday. PJ, Jalen Ramsey, who was a Jaguar and was a problem and somebody that I mentioned was an issue in the locker room, he is obviously a Ram. And being on the Los Angeles Rams, he had an expiring contract. They needed to take care of it. They did. They gave him the largest contract in defensive back history, Jalen Ramsey getting a 5-year, $105 million contract. This 5-year, $105 million contract is the largest contract ever signed by a defensive back in NFL history. It overtakes the contract signed by Darrelle Revis, who was a former Jets defensive back. And on top of being a record-setting contract overall, it's also a record-setting contract for the largest guaranteed money in defensive back history. Of the $105 million, 71.2% is guaranteed. So we're looking at over 70% of his contract pretty much is guaranteed money to him. Because when we see some of these balloon contracts, people don't realize it's a $100 million contract, but maybe only $40 million is guaranteed, and they'll never see the other 60. He's going to see at least $71.2 million at signing, which is insanity, just at signing. To agree to this contract, to sign his name on paper, $71.2 million is going to him. What are your thoughts on Jalen Ramsey making history with the Rams?
Oh, you had to bring him up, huh?
I know that in saying it, I know that I'm evoking the name. I mean, to some people, it's that of which we do not speak, but we are speaking it, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Well, obviously, I don't think he deserves that kind of money. He's a hell of a defensive back. He was a great player in college. He played for the Jaguars, is about all I can say, because he really never made a difference. Jalen Ramsey's a typical loudmouth defensive back that will break up passes, intercept a few, but he'll have what I call a matador defense when it comes to tackling someone. He'll wave the cape by someone and off they go. He's not the best tackler in the world. Hey, if that's the way the team wants to handle a player like that, if they want to give him that kind of money for the limited amount of time that he plays football, then that's their prerogative. I didn't think he was a top flight player when he was with the Jaguars because he didn't want to play. These guys come out with college with this attitude, and it exasperates me. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it bothers the heck out of me that they're not humble at all. I mean, some of the really good people, like you talked about Philly Campbell. I mean, that guy was a nice guy, a very humble man. So a lot of these kids come from meager beginnings, but you think that they would appreciate their humble beginnings? No, they just keep running their mouth. So that's what he's doing. And hey, I wish him luck. Good luck. I hope the team doesn't go broke before. I tell you what, I'll probably make a prediction. In probably 2 years, he'll be gone.
And I find it interesting that you said that because I said, my take on it was very similar. I said, before he got the contract, I said, this is now a Rams problem, and I wonder what the Rams are going to do if he's in their locker room running his mouth, and if Jared Goff makes some mistakes as their quarterback, and he starts making some comments, looking across the room, giving the eye to Jared Goff, and when he's doing an interview, if he looks at the camera and goes, "You know who I'm talking about." I wonder if he starts to create dissension on that team, because Dwight Howard, I said a lot of stuff about Dwight Howard, and I know they're not the same people, but ego is a big thing, and this is where I'm paralleling Jalen Ramsey and Dwight Howard. I warned people about Dwight Howard. I warned them well in advance. I said he is not, and maybe hopefully today he's changed. Maybe he's different today. But I said this man is not elite. He is not aligned with anybody but himself. He does not care about anybody but himself. If he leaves Orlando, he will cripple this franchise. And he did for a very, very, very long time before they made the playoffs these last couple of years. He crippled the franchise. And he gutted it. He made a giant crater in the middle of it, and then he wasn't loyal to anybody else. Dwight Howard loved Dwight Howard. That's the only thing that I knew in the time that I covered him confidently, was that he loved himself. And you need to love yourself as a human being. But his love for himself went beyond the, this is healthy, and it became like, do you kiss yourself in the mirror every morning? So it's one of those things with Jalen Ramsey where I feel very similar about him. I will not be surprised, and like you just brought it up, Papa Joe, and you didn't know I was going to say it, and so I think it's funny we've aligned here. I will find it hilarious, and I also will not be surprised if there comes a day where the Los Angeles Rams go, wow, this guy's talented, but we can't put up with his antics anymore. we can't put up with this BS anymore. So, yeah, that contract is there, but will Jalen Ramsey be there for 5 years? That's going to be a big question. And Papa Joe and I will very confidently tell you that we told you so if anything within the next 5 years turns into anything more than Jalen Ramsey retiring a Ram, and if he somehow, some way is so talented, but he just doesn't seem to fit what the Rams are doing. Because unless Jalen Ramsey changes his attitude, and now you've handed a man a mountain of gold that doesn't have the best way of tackling real life and being an adult. You just gave more toys to someone who's a big child. I don't see that going great, but he is very talented, and if things don't work out, don't say we didn't warn you.
That's right.
So, PJ, Jacksonville, I'm looking at the roster right now. Raquel Armstead is somebody that I said last year when he was a rookie out of Temple. I covered Temple inside of the American Athletic. I covered the whole conference. And I made a note about Raquel, and I said, listen, if you think that this is like some garbage pick by Jacksonville in the 4th round or whatever, if you think that this is a nothing pick, please understand that I believe that this guy is going to get some reps. And I believe that, they could utilize him, as a third down back or to give Leonard Fournette a break at times when they were playing together last year. But I said, don't be surprised if issues continue to arise with Leonard Fournette or Leonard Fournette gets injured, that Raquel Armstead is going to take over. Now he has the chance to take over because issues continue to arise with Leonard Fournette, but he's hurt right now. So James Robinson, who a lot of people don't know, he was in the Swiss Family Robinson. It was a great, fantastic thing. But James Robinson is now allegedly the starter, while Raquel is on the COVID-19 list, the reserve COVID-19 list. And Chris Thompson is there, who knows Jay Gruden very well, who's kind of a receiver, running back, special play type of guy. I don't see him as being an every down. I feel that he's kind of that break a big play for 20 yards type of player in the backfield. But that's what they have right now. They don't have too much to write home about if Raquel does not get off of that list and get back on the field. Gardner Minshew is your quarterback. Jake Luton, who they drafted, is there as well. James O'Shaughnessy, who has been on the team, off the team, on the team. I mean, he's kind of been the guy, not the guy, the guy, not the guy. They keep bringing in other people. Josh Oliver doesn't work out, keeps getting hurt. Tyler Eifert's there now from Cincinnati. DJ Chark, Chris Conley, Laviska Shenault Jr., who is a rookie that they drafted in the 3rd round this year. D.D. Westbrook and Keelan Cole are all there at receiver, and they return Cam Robinson at left tackle, Andrew Norwell at left guard, Brandon Linder at center, A.J. Cann at right guard, and Juwan Taylor at right tackle. The only thing that looks the same on Jacksonville's offense as far as consistency goes is the offensive line. The wide receivers, we still don't know who the guy is. It's a round robin. As far as running backs, it's kind of up in the air. And quarterbacks, Gardner Minshew is trying to, get a hold of this team and hold on for dear life. What are your thoughts when I talk about the offensive depth chart for Jacksonville this year?
Well, I think they're going to be exciting to watch. And I know that Gruden is going to give the ball to Minshew, and he's going to say, listen, here's the play, but if you see something different, audible, move around, do something different. That's what's fun about watching someone like Gardner Minshew. But I will tell you something. I will tell you this. There is one player that has really taken the whole team by surprise and has really excelled, and that's Laviska Shenault. This kid is a player, and I'm going to tell you he's going to be an all-pro. Not maybe this year, but he's going to be an all-pro in the near future. This kid can flat burn it, and he's a big, strong guy. He said he's listed as 6'1", 227, but he plays bigger than that. And that's the kind of guy that Minshew is going to look to on the 3rd down play or something like that. Cole and all these guys, Westbrook, DJ Shark, they're wonderful players. They got the height too, but not like this kid. This kid is a monster, and he's going to be a hell of a player. O'Shaughnessy, I love him at tight end. I've always liked him at tight end. Tyler Eifert is going to be great for Minshew. He's going to be his little security blanket too, like Cheval would be too. The offensive line with the 2 bookend tackles are going to be just fine. I like the way they're going. I like what they're doing. I like the feel that I'm getting and I'm reading about down over there. They did bring back Timmy Jerrigan, which is a really super super pickup for this as a run stopper. Everything looks like it's going to be going. C.J. Henderson from Florida looks like he's probably might be a starting quarterback. So he's turned some heads also. Look at Jacksonville's not going to win a Super Bowl. They're not going to win 5 games in a row. They're not going to win 12 games or 10. They're a good football team and they're worth watching. They got rid of the deadheads, and with Gruden here throwing his little X's and O's at the guys, Minshew's smart enough to pick this stuff up because he's a very cerebral quarterback. Barone, as we know, he's just like a big teddy bear. So, it's going to be a fun team to watch. I don't think you're going to see anyone pointing fingers because really all the bad guys are gone. Now, if Fournette thinks by the way, Fournette's right. He's finally at a team. He says, I finally got a quarterback. But, Leonard, you didn't have to say that, You didn't have to say that and embarrass everyone. Minshew's going to be a good quarterback. Fournette's lucky he's playing for the greatest of all time. So, if I were him, I'd keep his mouth shut and hope that I'm playing third string, which he is right now. So I like what's happening. I like what I read. I like the roster that we're looking at. There's one guy over 30 years old, and that is the fullback. You didn't believe there's going to be a fullback now for the Jaguars?
Yeah.
A fullback. What's his name? Big guy. I'll find it.
Yeah,
he's an older guy.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's Bruce Miller.
Yeah.
Bruce Miller.
Oh, I can't find it.
Bruce Miller is on the depth chart.
Okay, yeah. He's ancient, 33 years old or something like that. But I like the idea of a fullback because fullback can be used for blocking, or it could be used in a screen pass, or it could be used to make the way for the running backs to get wide. So I've always liked a fullback, a big, strong guy that can do a lot of things. So if that's the way this offense is going to look, so we're going to line up with probably 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a fullback, and 1 running back, and that's going to be the offense.
Yeah,
right.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do here. But I would say to Leonard Fournette, that Gardner Minshew, I mean, he's a positive guy. He's probably not going to say this, but you said you finally got a quarterback now that you're in Tampa with Tom Brady. Well, you didn't always stay healthy, and you made decisions about punching people in the helmet with the hands that you used to run the ball. So, maybe low-key one of the guys on the team could say, well, thank God we finally got a running back. So, I mean, they could throw it right back at Leonard Fournette if they really wanted to, but, be the bigger people, Jacksonville. Go to work, do what you got to do, and make it happen. On the defensive side of the ball, you alluded to a little bit, PJ. They have guys that are multiple. And what I mean by that is there are guys on the defensive line / linebacker core that can play back and forth. Kayvon Chason as well as Josh Allen. They're multiple. They have the ability to either put their hand in the dirt or back up a little bit and play linebacker. Right now, a defensive end, we have Josh Allen. Adam Gotsis is somebody that is a little new face to a lot of people at defensive end. DeJuan Smoot, that's played in different parts of the defensive line. He's there at defensive end. Avery Jones, who comes back at D-tackle, that I don't think it's talked about enough. He's there. Taven Bryan is there as the other D-tackle. Timmy Jernigan backing him up. Leon Jacobs, strong side linebacker, middle linebacker, the guy they spent a lot of money on from Cleveland Browns, Joe Schobert. Shaquille Quarterman, who I covered with the Miami Hurricanes, he is backing up there at middle linebacker for Joe Schobert. So, there's some depth there and somebody else that could, bring some pain, I believe, to this, which is a good thing. I think Shaquille Quarterman can do some things that maybe people don't know. Cassius March there at the strong side backup, and Quincy Williams. Weak side, Miles Jack. I like him on the outside. Trey Herndon, who did great filling in for Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion, did a lot of good things in coverage last year. He's there. Chris Claybrooks, who talks about how fast he is. He's backing up Trey Herndon. C.J. Henderson from the Gators, drafted this year high, the first draft pick by Jacksonville in this year's 2020 NFL Draft. DJ Hayden's behind him, who spent some time there. Strong safety will be a question mark with Josh Jones and Daniel Thomas, and Gerard Wilson is back at free safety. So, I think that and then Josh Lambo is there as your kicker, and Logan Cook's back there as your punter, and then you have D.D. Westbrook and Keelan Cole returning some stuff being dangerous. So I think there's a lot of good here, and as much as people want to knock the defense and, that Jacksonville had a yard sale and they got rid of everybody, you still have Josh Allen, you still have Avery Jones, you still have Leon Jacobs and Miles Jack and Trey Herndon and Gerard Wilson. There's still a lot of familiar names on this team, plus you add young talent through the draft in Kayvon Chason and C.J. Henderson, and then you bring in Joe Schobert from the Browns. I think there's a lot of good here on this defense still, and I don't think I don't think people should sell Jacksonville short.
No, I agree. I'm going to love watching them. I'm going to love watching them. The middle linebacker you mentioned, Schobert, he looks like he's going to be a player. Now that's going to leave Miles Jack to fly around a little bit and use his speed.
Yeah,
he was sort of misplaced there as central linebacker. But Joe Schobert taking over the middle probably. And now Miles Jack on the outside will be able to use his speed. So there are a lot of things. I am surprised. One thing I am surprised, even though he's a Gator, Taven Bryan, I'm surprised that he's still with the team. I thought he's underperformed the last couple of years after watching him at Florida. He sort of disrupted thing when he was playing there. I mean, he's a big guy, and obviously he plays in the middle. So I'd like to see him pick it up a little bit. I'm glad that he's still with the team, but I wouldn't be surprised that maybe someone else beats him out and they release him. But I want to see him do well, and because he's a Gator, and I want to see him do well for the team. So let's hope that he can pick it up a little bit. There's just going to be a lot of playmakers everywhere, and the offense is going to be fun to watch. Now, it's going to take a while to gel. Minshew's not going to make every pass, and the line's not going to make every block, and the running back's not going to make every carry. There's going to be some problems, but it's going to be fun to watch. And the thing that I like about this team is they seem to be together, and they're not nipping at each other. There's not any fights. There's not any this. There's no one slanderizing someone else, or bragging that they were doing this and bragging. I haven't read anything like that. Now, no one's driven up in a Brinks truck because none of these guys are probably making any money, like Jalen. But Jalen, hey, look at there's plenty of armored car trucks over there in California. Go ahead and do that over there.
Yeah, and it is nice to see that there's not Dante Fowler Jr., he's not there anymore, and there were some issues at practice as well. So, again, it's bringing in talent, but, people ask me in relationships, or Dan, how much crazy is okay to take if she's really pretty or he's really handsome or whatever? How much crazy should you take? And what I've learned in 34 years of life, there is no amount of pretty to deal with crazy. There is no amount of pretty that makes you go, yeah, I'll handle that crazy. And so Jalen Ramsey's game is pretty, but the crazy was really high. And we'll see what that looks like in LA. So, it'll be something to watch. But Jacksonville knows one thing. They don't have to deal with it anymore. They also don't have to lock up all that money. And they can find other ways to utilize it. And hopefully, C.J. Henderson and Kayvon Chason and Joe Schobert and some of these guys that they brought in are going to be better bets and smarter decisions than some of the ones that they've made in the past where they went after the talent but got the prima donna that came along with it. So, Jacksonville, we will see as they get started off this season coming up here very, very soon. Want to let everybody know really quick, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm very happy that I am. Let's do this safely and soundly. Today, as Papa Joe and I are talking, Houston and Kansas City are getting ready to face off against each other to usher in the 2020-2021 NFL season on schedule and with the same schedule that we are expecting to see. The only thing that's changed about the NFL schedule, as far as I know, is they will not be playing any international games. No Mexico games. Jacksonville gets 2 home games back, which is fantastic. They were going to have, instead of having, every team has 8. Jacksonville gives up 1 every year to London. They were going to give up 2 this year and only have 6. Now they have 8, so they'll be at home for a couple more games, which is great. And going on the rest on Sunday, September 13th, after Houston plays Kansas City tonight, we'll have Seattle at Atlanta, the Jets at Buffalo, Chicago at Detroit, Green Bay at Minnesota, Miami at New England, Philadelphia at the Washington football team that still doesn't have an identity, which is ridiculous. Las Vegas makes their debut. The Raiders make their debut as the Las Vegas Raiders at Carolina, as Teddy Bridgewater makes his debut as the Carolina quarterback. Indy will be at Jacksonville, Cleveland at Baltimore. Those are all 1 o'clocks And then later on in the afternoon, the Chargers will play at Cincinnati. The debut of Joe Burrow, number 1 pick out of LSU at quarterback. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady makes his debut at New Orleans against Drew Brees. Massive game. Arizona at San Francisco. Kyler Murray will have DeAndre Hopkins debut in Arizona as his new leading lady, and out there doing his thing, so to speak. Dallas at Los Angeles. Rams at night, and then we have Pittsburgh at the Giants and Tennessee at the Denver Broncos for week number 1. Papa Joe, what's the game you're looking forward to the most? Of all the games that I mentioned, all of the NFL teams will be playing, all 32 teams, so 16 games. What are you most looking forward to?
Well, of course, I'll be watching the Jaguars. I want to see how they respond to the training this last year and how they're going to fit against Indy with a new look Phillip Rivers. But the one game I think the whole nation is waiting for is Tampa Bay at New Orleans. That game is going to be a barn burner. I want to see 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks go at it, and let's see what happens. Let's see if Tampa Bay's defense is supposed to be as good as it was the last couple of years, and then Brady coming in with his bevy of wide receivers that he has. My goodness, those guys are good. Goodness gracious! They even were good last year despite having Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
and he's an idiot. So that'll be the game that I want to watch, and that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun one to try to keep score on too.
Yeah, it's funny how Jameis Winston was throwing as much to them as he was throwing to the other team, and they still looked good. But now they have Tom Brady. So if Mike Evans and O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate and Chris Godwin all look good without him, imagine what they are with him. I said arguably with the addition of Rob Gronkowski as well, this is the best receiving core arguably that Tom Brady's ever had. And he's already won a bunch of Super Bowls. So kind of crazy to look at that in his early 40s, getting the best weaponry that he has ever had, which is pretty cool. Final note here, PJ, we have college football. They were able to have their first week, thank God, and they did it safely. As far as we know, everything went off here without a hitch. They were able to do what they needed to do in week 1. So, those games, to give some shout-outs here, we had UAB in Central Arkansas. UAB won the game 45-35. You know that they're not going to stop if they don't have to. They had their entire football team canceled for a season, and then everybody had an uproar, and they brought it back. You know that they don't ever want to stop playing. Southern Mississippi played South Alabama. South Alabama 32-21 won the game. Marshall defeated Eastern Kentucky 59-0. Army defeated Middle Tennessee State 42-0. SMU defeated Texas State. American getting a win there, 31-24, and we saw North Texas defeat Houston Baptist 57-31. Memphis won their game to open up their season. The American athletic team, Memphis, 37-24. UTEP defeated Stephen F. Austin 24-14. BYU handing Navy and the American their first loss of the season, 55-3, that you brought up earlier. And then in week number 2, we will see more games here. We're going to see a game tonight. UAB will play at Miami. That game will be on the ACC network at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Syracuse will start off Saturday at North Carolina, ranked number 18 in the country for North Carolina, at noon Eastern Time on the ACC network. Louisville will play at Iowa State. Iowa ranked 23rd. Charlotte at Appalachian State. Eastern Kentucky at Western Virginia. Arkansas State at Kansas State. UL Monroe at Army. Duke at Notre Dame, number 10 in the country. Georgia Tech at Florida State. San Antonio at Texas State, Campbell at Georgia Southern, Austin Peay at Pittsburgh, Missouri State at number 5 Oklahoma, the Citadel at South Florida, number 1 Clemson at Wake Forest, Tulane at South Alabama, UTEP at number 14 Texas, Western Kentucky at Louisville, Houston Baptist at Texas Tech, Coastal Carolina at Kansas, and those are your games. So PJ, I got to ask you really, really quick here, and we're gonna, as we always do our pick'ems. UAB at Miami. UAB has been on a mission ever since their football program got reinstated after a year where it was taken off of the books. UAB at Miami. What do you think about this one?
Miami just has too much talent down there. I mean, I give UAB credit for coming back, but Miami just has. He seems like they have the whole city of Miami on their team down there. This guy is signing all the kids that don't want to leave the area. They happen to be all 4 and 5 stars. So I don't see Miami skipping a beat here.
I find it very funny. One of my listeners, Greg, big shout out to Greg, who's also joined us in fantasy football for the first time. So welcome officially to him and all of our new members in the Wake Up Call Fantasy Football Challenge, brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub. He said, "I get a kick out of how much venom Papa Joe has for old Jameis," and I said, "You have no idea. It's so much, so much venom for Jameis Winston, famous Jameis." I want to let everybody know. I went to the Publix where he had allegedly taken those crab legs, and I bought Coke Zero, and I took a picture in front of it, and I said, I wanted to buy something. I wanted to go where Jameis went, and I wanted to kind of like even out. I wanted to get them back even as far as money. So if crab legs were stolen, I wanted to buy something to kind of get them back to zero. So I bought some Coke Zero there. But yeah, kind of funny and kind of fun. But so you're going to go with Miami. I will as well. Syracuse at North Carolina. Mac Brown turned this North Carolina team around in a season, and now he was voted to finish third out of 15 schools in the ACC. The ACC media in the nation voted North Carolina third. I did as well. My vote was counted amongst all of that. The media as a whole, and I agree that North Carolina are in the top three. What do you think about Syracuse at North Carolina?
Well, I think it's time for me to say another rosary for you. North Carolina should handle Syracuse very easily.
Yeah, I'm going to pick North Carolina in this game as well. North Carolina lost to Clemson by a point last season, and only because they went for two to win the game in regulation instead of going for the extra point. Could have gone in overtime, and then who knows? I'm going to have to pick North Carolina in this. And everybody else is playing kind of cupcakes. I don't want to say cupcakes, but, the ranked teams are not really playing big challenges, I would say. The last game I would circle is Georgia Tech, who is under new head coach Jeff Collins for the second season as he changes the entire offensive system. And then Florida State with Mike Norvell that came from Memphis, two former American athletic coaches in the ACC, both of which I've covered in both. So what are your thoughts on Georgia Tech at Florida State, both unranked?
Boy, I'm really vacillating on this one. I do want to see Florida State do well, mainly because it's good for football in the state. But Georgia Tech coming in with a whole new offensive scheme. So is Florida State. It's a toss-em game. But I think I like Florida State mainly because they're going to have more athletes. And even though they're not setting it on fire with the recruiting, they still have more talent left over than I think Georgia Tech has.
Yeah, and for those of you that know Papa Joe, it says Papa Joe's picks there. We will, during the season, we make picks all throughout college football and whatnot, and so we'll have some fun with that. PJ and I going with Miami over UAB, North Carolina over Syracuse, and I would also lean on Florida State, but don't be surprised if there's maybe not a lot of defense in this game. We'll see. So I'm going to go with Florida State as well. PJ, as always, I appreciate you tremendously. This has been a great jump off to the season, and thanks to you being so committed, we have extended the segment with you from the Sunshine State to not just be in season, but to be all season through all of the 4 seasons that we have. In Florida, you have 1 season. We have 4 in Syracuse, in case you wanted to know. But you have hot, hotter, hottest, a little bit less hot, and then hot again.
Right.
But yeah, so it was great to bring everybody to football even when there was no football. And now that football's come back, I can only thank you so much for joining me on this carriage ride back to the season.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. See you later.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
That coming from Papa Joe here, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And just to address everything here once again, PJ and I, we do our pick'ems every week. If you want us to pick a game that maybe you don't hear us say, you can always send it in. If you're on youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT, you can request us to talk about a game. You can also do that on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. And you can also connect with us on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. So make sure that you do that. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we will be here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for the first time ever with Roland Williams.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.